One of my goals has always been to bring science and the paranormal together. Paranormal is just science undiscovered or misunderstood.
Every time I keep asking how good can it get, this prompts the participatory universe to provide us with answers that we genuinely do want to live the answer to.
Hello, my name is Christopher Anitra. You know me as the quantum businessman.
And I say, you know what? I don't need to know where I'm headed. I thought I knew where I was headed before and I didn't end up there. So why worry about where I'm headed? Why not just accept this now moment, trust that whatever guided me here with you guys that I feel is divine is going to continue to guide me.
The content you are about to watch is meant for thought and consideration. Please be respectful of each other and opinions shared. This is a safe place to express thoughts, ideas, and information. Please note that no copyright infringement is intended with regards to inclusion of short excerpts of material that are included in accordance with fair use under Section 107 of the Copyright Act. IMEC, or International Mandela Effect Conference, is a 501c3 nonprofit organization designed to support ongoing Mandela Effect research. To learn more about IMEC, please go to imec.world.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and welcome to the International Mandela Effect Conference Season 5, Episode 4, I think we're up to. Yes, Episode 4. There we go. Appreciate that. Huge shout out to begin with to our amazing producer, Heather, who holds all of this together and does an incredible job behind the scenes. Just does not get enough glory. So huge shout out to her. There we go. That is on the screen, lighting the way for the Mandela Effect, ladies and gentlemen. Looks like we've got a foggy torch here. We'll find out later if that is even connected to our show. Hint, it is. But before we do, folks, I've got an amazing team of people to bring on with me. We've got, starting out with Mr. Christopher Anitra. You know him as the quantum businessman. Switch it up a little bit. Next up, we have Miss Cynthia Sue Larson of RealityShifters.com. And last but not least, we have Mr. Shane Robinson of Unbiased and On the Fence. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. And together we are the International Mandela Effect Conference. Great to see everybody this month.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Great to be together.
So we have a heck of a show to go through. Let's go ahead and pull that up on screen again, if you don't mind, Heather. We've got a agenda here. I am going to cut out here in just a couple minutes as I have to step away, and I'm going to hand it over to the team, but I'll only be gone for a few minutes, folks. Worry not, I will be back. We're going to have board member updates. Then we're going to have regenerating human ribs. What's that about? Plus anachronistic cars. I'm surprised I even got that word right, let alone knowing what it means. Followed by black popes. Then we're going to have some new JFK pictures. These keep popping onto the scene. Followed by a Snow White interval. What do we have to do with Snow White? And cave glowworms. Yeah, you heard that right, glowworms. Are you confused as I am? Followed by the Statue of Liberty changes. It appears that we have some major changes. We touched on this last month, but we just did not really do it the glory it deserves. So we're going to touch back on that again. Followed by Celebrity Alive again. We have a Lazarus animal. You guys know I've got a soft spot in my heart for those Lazarus animals. We have an article on having mind matter powers and how we all have these abilities or possibly thereof. And then we're going to get into our mailbag. And finally, last but not least, our question and answer session. A lot to go through, ladies and gentlemen, and a little time to get there. So let's get this party started. With board member updates, Cynthia Sue Larson of RealityShifters.com. Glad to have you along for the ride as always.
Thank you.
How was your month?
Well, it's been exciting. I had a strange sighting of what looked like a UFO possibly, but it looked like an airplane. The whole thing was very telepathic, real-time conversation going on, and fascinating. I sent pictures to you guys of a sketch that I quickly drew of what it looked like. I'll just go through quickly because I can't bring something like that up and not describe it quickly. So quickly, what happened is I was just telepathically getting, how you get ideas. I was taking the garbage out and something came to mind, like you could look up and you might see a UFO. I'm thinking, I'm sort of having a conversation then. I'm thinking, well, I could, but a lot of sky glow. And so I look up, like, as I thought, don't see anything. And then I get a thought to my head. Sometimes these things can look like an airplane. Like, yeah, they can, but there aren't any. And then it's as soon as I say that or think that, I'm not talking out loud, I'm just thinking. And then right over my head, there's a 737 or, which doesn't, it sounds like that, but it looks different. What I mean is it looked bigger than it should be. They fly over this area all the time. I live in the Bay Area. It's a frequent traffic route for airplanes. Long story short, the plane was about 1 3/4 too big, had lights in patterns I've never seen anywhere. And then subsequently I went to websites to try to figure out what is this? I've never seen it. Like a grid pattern of lights on the underbelly and grid patterns on the wings. No required red and green lights whatsoever. And so I'm staring at that, very disturbed by it. And like, where are the red and green lights? It should have them. It doesn't. It's flying overhead, sounding normal, looking too big and lit up very weird. And I just get annoyed with it. Well, that's just annoying. So I look down, and then for the next 3 seconds, I have to look up again because now I hear a sound like it's crashing. And I'm like, no. And I look up at it. It's fine. I'm like, no. Like 3 seconds of a crashing sound. That's back to purring along like a 737. So I came in the house and sketched what it was, but the whole thing was very annoying. And I looked it up later. What was it officially? Supposedly a 737 flight from Chicago to Oakland. That was not what I saw or heard. So I'm just putting that out there because apparently these things are changing now. So there's, and that's a long story short. And I'm getting into the UFO thing more than I have before because I am a lifelong experiencer, usually through lucid dreams, direct telepathy. And I haven't really talked about it much, but I will be this coming Sunday on the 27th. I'll be with Paula Harris and Julian Chameroy. We'll be talking about Imagine, Words of Wisdom, just envisioning a new future. And the three of us will be together in Crestone, Colorado in August 21st through the 24th, talking about basically we'll be doing CE5 on 2 of the nights. I'll be leading one. Julian's going to lead one. And like I said, we're all experiencers. We have had lifelong experiences with ETs. And so if you ever want to join a group of people doing that, please join us. We'd love to have you. You might wonder, why on earth should we even care about that? That's a great question. What I'm noticing is that consciousness is evolving and humans are getting, we keep evolving as we talk about on IMEC. We're noticing that our bodies are different. We're changing. And as we grow up and mature and evolve, we've got a star family that's already there. They're excited. They're looking forward to joining with us. And so if you join with people who are contacting the good ones, the functional part of the family, shall we say, join us and have a lot of fun. So that's what's happening. And the website is my website, realityshifters.com. The events page shows both the Sunday event and then the August event. And so that's it, except for you guys. IMEC is the love of my life. You guys, what we're doing here, this is everything. I really believe the Mandela Effect is the future. I think the UFO, I never really tracked along with the UFO phenomenon. I didn't read the books. I was showing Jerry earlier. Now I'm starting to read the books, the ones Paula would recommend, and they look like this. Yes, it's from the 1950s. I know it's funny, but some of these they have great information. And I was actually avoiding it because with my direct contact, they were like, nah, don't look at a lot of this. I'm like, it's going to be, like I said, you want the functional part of the family. And like Chris says, be discerning. So that's a high level update. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. Very, very fascinating update indeed. Always when it comes to UFOs, especially, right? Huge shout out to Paula Harris. I would love to sit down and meet you one day. I know if you ever get a chance to watch this, that would be awesome. You've been a huge research inspiration, I should say. That's the word I'm looking for. All right. I'm going to have to step away here for just a couple moments. But next up, we have Mr. Christopher Onatra. You know him as the Quantum Businessman.
Hey, everybody. I was just looking at Jerry's name, Jerry Darkwolf Hicks. Maybe we'll change that to Direwolf Hicks. Based upon the Direwolf cloning. And for those of you that are our Patreon members, we just filmed a really cool green room where we get into cloning and we talk about these different subjects, which I think you guys will find fascinating. So definitely keep a lookout for that if you're one of our Patreons. So for me, I got nothing. Just kidding. Nonstop things going on. I'll just mention two things. The first thing I'm going to mention is Talawanda. Now, you guys might not know what Talawanda is or who that is. I was introduced to a book around my birthday, actually, called The Enlightenment. And one of the main characters in it was this character named Talawanda. And it's one of those books you can read easily within an afternoon. Came out in the late 70s, I believe, early 80s. And I did a reading of the book. I'm going to make it into a video on my channel for people to listen to. It's filled with light codes about the way the reality works. And it's a beautiful love story at the same time. So when I was reading it, I had to keep on stopping and starting because I was like crying. So I'm like, no one wants to hear me cry. So I'd stop the recording. I do it over. I mess up some of the words, but I'm like, I don't care. I didn't cry that time. So it's good. It's a really cool story. And when you hear it, you might have to listen to it more than once. It's really fascinating because it reveals how the reality works. So that's one thing. And then last week I finished filming of Act 13 of Symphony of Realities for you guys that are like looking for when I put out this new content. It's going to be a longer one of my videos, definitely at least 90 minutes, but I put you on a nonstop ride to make you be like, can't be, but somehow is, for all these different things that I reveal. So I can't wait for that to get out there. So that's my update. Go ahead.
Yeah, your YouTube channel, Quantum Businessman. Let's make sure and it's in the comments under this YouTube. So you can click the links and find it.
Thank you. Shane, what's going on with you?
Just been working on some hypnosis projects, some self-hypnosis videos that will include some audio and visual entrainment technology that's not really been done to help deepen it. And I was just thinking, with talking with hearing Cynthia and us moving into this era of more contact, I should probably create a video that would help for meditating and just making a connection consciously, because we always feel like you have to go off in a ship or something. But I think Debbie Solaris, she was just taken with just her consciousness was pulled onto a ship. So her physical body never even had to leave. And she was actually meeting and learning all sorts of things, just meeting on a conscious level, not in a physical way. So that does happen. So I was just thinking, I felt that inspirational pull to like work on something along those lines to bring this new technology into the contact we're trying to have right now. So that'll be a lot of fun.
Maybe you could add some music, because that's really cool to get into that meditative mode. And music's so powerful.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've been using the Zen singing bowls and some of those droning sounds that are so nice, to go along with the binaural beats and then the matching visuals on the screen. So yeah, a lot of fun stuff coming up. I will put some tester stuff out on my channel when I get it finished, but I'm really at the developmental part of this, kind of putting it all together. But yeah, a lot of exciting things on the horizon as far as hypnosis is concerned. And you can find me on my YouTube channel, Unbiased and on the Fence, of course, or you can find me on the internet at uotf.net. And that will connect you to all of the stuff I do.
Outstanding. And then we would have an update from Jerry. We'll have to catch that later.
He changed the name. This is Jerry Direwolf Hicks. I like that, Jerry.
That's hilarious. Yeah, he's on the move, and I'm sure he'll let us know what's going on with that when he comes back. But in the meantime, let's go to our next slide, please, Heather. We'll get this show started, because we've got our first topic today. And as you see, it's a big one. This one is pretty strange. I forget who brought this to our attention. I think it was you, Chris, probably. Yeah. Yes. Thank you for joining us and bringing in so much good material this month. We've got regenerating human ribs. Now, if you'd asked me before this month, can human ribs regenerate? I would say outside of the biblical story, never heard of it. And I think, Shane, you're the one that mentioned that, right? Like,
Right. Yeah, that's amazing that they, that connection with that, because they could have taken, taking the Bible story, God could have removed the rib from Adam and he regrew it, after taking it to create Eve. So it's a whole new way of thinking about that story.
right. And so now it looks like there's this process built right into the human body, so that when a rib is fractured or removed, there's something called the periosteum, which is a tough membrane covering the bone. And it usually stays intact even though there's been that fracture or that breakage. So cells within that periosteum, those are called osteoblasts, are capable of producing new bone tissue, which they then do, which gradually rebuilds the lost bone and it recreates the missing or broken rib. And so then, of course, there's all these qualifications. The amount of regeneration depends on factors like severity of injury, age of the patient, overall health. But this is where it gets really wild. In some cases, the rib can completely regenerate. In others, only a portion may grow back. Regeneration typically takes several months to a year. This is pretty wild stuff, really wild. And I don't know about you guys, but this, like I said, totally new for me. I think it was new for you too, Chris, right?
Yeah, when I first came across this, I was like, I had never heard of this before. But so for me, it definitely falls into the category of a Mandela effect, and a positive Mandela effect, like an upgrade of the human body kind of Mandela effect. So yeah, this is one that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, when I had a kitten back in the 1980s, he had a missing broken rib, and I noticed it. But he did experience an instantaneous healing with a full regrowth of the rib by the next day, which that's not quite what we're talking about here, but it was pretty cool. I just love the kitten so much, and I didn't expect it would heal, but it certainly did. So yeah, but outside of that in the Bible, what about you, Shane? Any previous knowledge of this? It's total Mandela effect for me too.
Oh yeah, it's totally a Mandela effect for me. I heard about the little ribs along the back that were new to me as well, as far as the rib cage is concerned. I didn't know about them, but you would think we would have brought it up then, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it seems like when we're talking about ribs, and if we had support for what's in the Bible, like that's not such a big deal. Like, of course you can grow the whole rib from a broken rib, so why not a whole body? But now it seems like we're getting closer.
Right.
Very interesting. And it's kind of on topic for the green room. I mean, not the green room. Well, the Patreon project that we did this month.
Yeah, I was thinking that same thing, because if we have this tissue that's able to regenerate really quickly, maybe they could tap into that technology to grow a whole body quickly, right?
That's right.
Yeah, including a clone.
Right.
Yeah, because that's one of the concepts that I had mentioned. Is it possible that there's technology where you can actually create a clone of any age within 24 hours? 3D printing type technology. So on the surface here of Earth, we don't know about that. That seems so advanced, but is it really? Just because we don't know about it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, we're already talking about doing organs, taking your own stem cells and 3D printing an organ. So why not the whole body, right?
Right. It's pretty wild stuff.
Yeah, it seems far out there.
Yeah, we tend to think that this progress comes, as we go forward in time, that we'd expect to see it. But with the Mandela effect, sometimes you can expect to see progress in the past, not just the future, which is a segue for the next slide. So if we go to the next slide. Thank you, Heather.
I had a problem with this word.
Anachronistic.
Anachronistic. I had to look up the meaning of it because I didn't realize what anachronistic actually meant. But it means from another time, or like another era, so to speak.
Exactly. And that makes it a Mandela effect automatically for us, those of us who are looking at something like a fleet of electric London taxis. They were so well known, they actually had a nickname. So it wasn't just like, look at these weird new things. No, they're called hummingbirds because I guess it was the humming sound that they made. They didn't make a noisy sound. They sort of hummed along. We've got a video here. So let's go ahead and play the clip.
Of course, they had cameras back then, right? I'm just playing.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, in the 1890s, they actually did.
Right.
It's not quite, but it is kind of weird. And when we're waiting for the video clip, you can see the equipment.
Seen in London at the end of the 19th century. Bustling streets dominated by horse-drawn carriages while the Industrial Revolution continued to accelerate. But amidst this chaos, a major technological leap was about to take place. Something that, had it succeeded, could have changed the course of modern transportation long before Elon Musk and his electric cars. We're talking about the world's first electric taxis, the Bursey electric cabs, or as they were affectionately known, the hummingbirds, because they made a distinctive hum as they traveled through the streets. On August 19, 1897, London saw the debut of this fleet of 12 electric taxis, all designed by Walter Bursey, a 23-year-old electrical engineer. These vehicles were not just cars. They represented a vision for a cleaner, more modern, and perhaps even quieter future. With a speed of up to 12 miles per hour, about 19 kilometers per hour, these taxis were, in fact, the first autonomous vehicles available to the public. Far from the powerful electric cars we have today, the Bursey cabs were designed to mimic the carriages of the time, but with a futuristic twist. They were elegant, luxurious, and featured both interior and exterior electric lighting. The Johnson-Lundell motor that powered them was a small engineering miracle for that era, allowing them to run without the smoke or noise of steam-powered or horse-drawn vehicles.
Nestle's.
Yeah.
But of course,
that's enough.
not every innovation is easy.
We're gonna stop
The
it.
weight of the batteries, about 7.
Thank you. Yeah, so that's just a little look into the past, which is anachronistic because it seems odd. It's like, I don't know about you guys, but I don't remember hummingbird taxis from London. And, when we look at the history of the electric car, like documentaries, who killed the electric car? But it seems like it was killed back in the 1890s now. It wasn't something that was killed in my lifetime. So that is a huge development.
Do you know what you call a flock of hummingbirds?
No.
It's called a charm.
Oh,
So we have a charm of these electric vehicles here called the hummingbird. And a charm is that's usually like a magical symbol too.
yes.
Yeah,
Interesting.
that's cool.
But yeah, I never heard of these electric taxis and that there were so many of them.
Yeah, thanks for noticing the charming name. I love it. We have a real magical theme in today's show. So this totally fits right in. And it makes me wonder, like maybe that there's, it's almost like going back in time, like we see these, what you call timeline inserts sometimes. And if that's happening, then it's bringing a charming part of history back in time. I actually look for these inserts in time when I'm working on a new book. Like I haven't started the next book I'll be writing because I'm waiting until history changes. I'm actually waiting for Carl Sagan, not Carl Sagan. That's funny. Carl Jung, not Carl Sagan. Very funny slip of the tongue. But I'm looking for him and Rudolf Steiner and people like that to talk about levels of conscious agency. So they haven't yet. But it's like we're also waiting, those of us in IMEC, we're waiting for the dodo to come back. So this is a great thing to think about. What are we waiting for? What would we like to see change in the past to bring forward in the future? Any thoughts on all this, Shane?
I think it's just wild. It has that feeling of the World's Fair changes or the incubator babies or any. It definitely has that insertion feeling that like timeline, something got added.
Yeah, doesn't it? It really does. It's like super amazing.
And even how busy the streets were was just like, what? How are they so busy?
That's London. So, and think about it when you think, okay, 12 taxis in London, that's not that many, but those are the first cars. So it's really striking.
Yeah,
Like now they've got a really remarkable, charming, grand entrance on the scene. And they were elegant and beautiful.
And they hummed along.
Yeah. Let's go to the next slide because we've got another anachronistic situation here. Speaking of anachronistic cars, the next slide, this is something new to me. And I had never heard of this before. What we're looking at is, and we do have a video clip for this too, but we can ask just everybody in the chat, does anyone recall that there was a self-parking car? In this case, this is a Packard, very luxury car, back in 1933. You can see it sort of in motion here. That fifth wheel is a spare tire, and it drops down so that the car can just sort of slide into its parking space once you've lined up next to the spot, the parallel parking.
Yeah, I was going to say, like when I saw this video, I'm like, wow, that is a very clever way to parallel park. And you think it's just the spare tire, but it's a lot more than that.
It's so much more.
Yeah.
So let's roll the clip then, please, Heather.
And if traffic was bad, the parking problem was impossible, just like now. So one California genius disproved the simile useless as a fifth wheel. His fifth wheel aimed sideways, and with it you could sneak into the tightest hole. Relevant power steering? Well, somehow it never caught on. Why not? We'll never know. That's ancient history.
But it's history I've never heard of. So, another big one. Any thoughts on this, Shane?
I think it's wild that we have cars that went with that same look, but we didn't know where it came from. We didn't know that was kind of like pointing at this very first wheel on the back concept. You know what I mean? Because we have cars like that for, just for the look of it. Sometimes they aren't even really a spare tire. It's just like some of the old Cadillacs that would have that sort of one for the look, So it's just crazy that I've never heard of this.
And I don't know, I'm not following the chat right now, but if anyone's pointed out that they've heard of any of these things, either the electric taxi cabs in London or self-parking car of 1933, I'd love to hear about it. But it's totally new for us.
Well, Autumn says I wasn't alive yet, but I never heard of it existing back then.
Right. Good point. I wasn't alive yet either. But still, it's the kind of thing when you see the history of cars, especially electric cars, they're so big nowadays. It seems like a big deal that people would want to tie things into the hummingbird cars if they could. Okay. Any other comments or otherwise?
I just want to say whoever came up with that design, because it has to lift the whole car up. And then when the tire comes down, so there has to be a mechanism that's spinning that tire and lifting the car up at the same time. So that's some pretty cool engineering.
That is cool. That's a good point.
So you wonder why that hasn't been adapted in some degree, with modern cars. But yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. I'm like, wow, that's very clever. So
it is really super clever and really cool. Yeah, didn't catch on, but for me, it never existed. So it's like, how could it catch on?
Right.
We have to give it a chance to catch on now. So maybe now it'll catch on. It'll come back in the past. Very interesting. Okay, in that case, let's go to the next slide. And now we're going to change topics completely. Although this turned out to be more timely than we would have thought. When we were putting this show together, at that time, we hadn't heard the news yet of the passing of Pope Francis. So rest in peace, Pope Francis. Sorry to hear about that. But I guess the future forecasting group had forecast he would die in April. I didn't know about that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But this slide is covering the topic of Black popes. And you might think we're looking at a picture of a movie where they, cast the Pope and they're being fair to all the different races and considering like, well, what if there was a Black Pope? But in this case, there really might be. Cardinal Robert Sarah from Guinea is the current top pick to become the next Pope. This has now become a real thing. Like I said, when we put the show together, we didn't know that we'd be looking at, we didn't know this was actually happening. So it's I hadn't followed the future forecasting group. And hi, Jerry. Good to have you back.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I didn't want to interrupt here. Yeah, it is unfortunate that the Pope has passed. It's questioned whether or not he passed the other day, but he has passed. So I don't want to jump in here without really knowing what's going on. So carry on.
Okay. Yeah. So let's ask the chat. How many Black popes do you remember that there have been? And the slide is saying that the Catholic Church shows records that 3 popes came from Africa. So we would assume most likely they were Black. but the Vatican has not commented on the ethnicity of those. And I am not a papal expert, so I have no idea. I don't have any memory personally. I would have guessed 0 if it was a test and, write in how many black popes have there been. And apparently I would not have done well on that question.
Yeah. And
Yeah, me neither.
if the other question was how many female popes have there been?
I was thinking that.
Yeah,
Oh.
right. So I think that's one of the things we've spoken about in the past was Pope Joan.
We
who
did.
Yeah.
And we didn't think of, we never even, when we were talking about her, did anybody know about the black popes, or that's
Nope.
come through? So that's a new development.
Brand new for me.
Yeah, because we would have brought that up. We would have said, well, here's another thing that you might not have known. These are good pub quiz questions,
Make sure you remember these for trivia night.
Right.
Yeah. But by the way, too, I did like a recent search the other day to see like they do like odds, like betting odds, like who they think is the next pope will be, and you could like make money on it or not. And I don't think Cardinal Robert Sarah was on the list. He was before. I don't think he's there anymore. I think there is another black cardinal that's on the list, but most of them were just like old white guys. So yeah. So we'll see what happens, but we've definitely, I think, reached some kind of a turning point. And the death of the Pope is part of that whole, the way things are going to play out. I think it has a lot of significance, and what that significance will be going forward. We'll realize it more, such as who is the new Pope going to be. And, there's other developments that have been happening on the world stage as well. So we're definitely we've reached a crossroads, and I think we're going to start to see a lot of different things start to shift.
Very cool. And this now that the Pope has died, there's that whole prophecy. I don't know if you guys are following it. That
I was just thinking about the prophecy of the popes and whether or not to bring it up. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So apparently this, I guess even Pope Francis believed that he was the penultimate Pope, that there would be one more and that would be it. So, wow. Yeah. And I guess, is there also a prediction? Was this Nostradamus predicting that it would be a black Pope as well?
I'm not sure on that.
Okay. Very interesting.
Yeah. And there is the whole concept of a black Pope, like another, degrees of, how can I say it? Polarization is the best way for me to put it, where there is an individual that is known as the black Pope, who's not a good guy at all. There's the gray Pope, those type of concepts as well. So we're not actually talking about those popes. We're actually talking about the color, the skin color of the possibility of who the new official Pope would be placed at the Vatican.
Right. Yeah, I'm not
Thanks
current
for
on
clarifying that.
Yeah, thank you.
It's like a black mass, isn't really? It's like the evil version. You're saying
this gets back into that discernment again, whether it's ETs or whether it's politicians, and so maybe at this point in time, it's not that any political party is good or bad, and any color is good or bad. It's much more an individual situation, looking for their fruits, like that talk you gave, Shane, in Connecticut. Look for their fruits. So when they're giving generously from their heart, when they're connecting with people with love, when they're being kind and all that good stuff, then that's a good one. And it looks like that really matters on the world stage right now.
And when it comes to their fruits too, hopefully they're not an exploding watermelon.
Well, one thing the Mandela Effect definitely does is give and give in abundance, especially in relation to the JFK situation. Next slide, please. Our resident JFK researcher here has come up with some brand new Mandela effects, it appears.
Yeah, so there's this slide, and then we have like another slide too. But this is like everything that's gone with the JFK assassination is getting just for me, it's like, what is going on here? So here we have the Newman family. They're on the ground, and they actually became celebrities.
Meet the Newman family, ladies and gentlemen.
including their kids, their boys. Like they were like all these interviews, television stuff for many, many years. I had never heard of them before. You could see them in that first photo. They're lying on the ground, right? And then it's right after it happened. I mean, the white limos are still going by. And what's crazy is that if you look at the photo on the right that's in color, you got like a cameraman there, someone else taking pictures. It's like, boy, that's really convenient. Like I never saw any of this. It's like the amount of people that are there now taking pictures and videos is starting to go off the charts. So I'm waiting for more and more stuff to happen. And in the next slide, there's even more. But yeah, this like I swear, every time I look, there's something different.
Crazy's Lab points out, why are they smiling? I was wondering the same thing, Lee. I was absolutely wondering the exact same thing. Why are they smiling when this has just happened? The president is literally seconds prior just had something happen. We're on YouTube, so I have to watch my words. But you guys know the situation. And they're taking pictures with smiles. I'm with you there. That's a little odd.
Yeah, and you can see in this picture too, the cars racing away. There's still Secret Service agents that are running on the ground. So this just like the photo happened like within seconds of
that color on the car. That's not the car though, is it? That's something.
No,
else.
that's one of the white limos.
Okay,
and that was new for me too. The limos behind were a darker color. They were black. They weren't white.
Thank you, because I'm just trying to figure out what is that car. Like I don't understand. I don't remember a white car.
So that's the second white limo, it looks like, because I don't see the one ahead of it. It would have been in the shot, I would assume, if it was the first one. So this appears to be the second limo that's passing by after the motorcade has pulled off, headed toward the hospital.
And I don't remember Bill and Gail Newman either. So that all these pictures of them, it's very new.
And them being huge celebrities within the JFK realm. I'm sorry, I didn't study it like some of these folks, but I've studied it. No.
Yeah. Strange. How about you, Shane?
Don't we have one more photo? It seems like we had 4 total.
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna have. There's more. But now it's getting into a new.
Okay, yeah, I thought we had 4 of them down on the ground, like 4 different angles, but
yeah, it's only 3.
Yeah, no, this is wild. It's almost like all these time travelers, like let's take our cameras and let's visit these different time periods, and this is the perfect place to set up. It looks like a movie scene. I don't know. It's that one shot is so weird. Can we go back to the one where you got literally these camera guys like
right.
They were waiting?
You're right. It does look like a film set. That's what I was thinking too.
And literally the same day of the JFK assassination, this family was interviewed. They went live on the air. So
how is that possible?
From the very first day until the parents died and then the kids took over doing interviews. Yeah, the Newmans have been pretty much featured in this timeline because they were right there.
But when's the first you heard about the Newman family, Chris? Is it this year?
Probably a couple of months ago.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more, but yeah, 2 or 3 months ago.
That's wild.
It's new to me. First I've heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
Wonder where those kids are now.
Yeah, they're grown and they're older. Yeah, like in their 60s, 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy's Lab mentions could it be crisis actors?
Well, I mean, it could be anything, but what's interesting too is that on the first picture, so when I was looking at, if we go back to the slides and go back to the slide before this one, there'll be a family. Oh, okay. Sorry. Go to the next slide, past this one. We're going to talk about this more. But you see that family that's on the ground?
Yes.
Like, right? Like I thought that was that family and they crossed the road. But if you look at it, it's not the same family.
It's not the same family.
Yeah, because the woman is actually the woman, Mrs. Newman. She's wearing like a beautiful red dress. She's got like red high heel shoes on.
Yep.
It's almost like she was ready for her photo op. I could be wrong. I mean, it was the president going by. Or could there have been more? Because she was really dressed to the hilt. If we go back to that picture with her on the ground with her family, you kind of
they're all coordinated, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go to the next. Yeah. There you can see she has like the red dress on and the red high heel shoes. So
it's match.
Yeah. I'm sure she made sure her husband wore some good clothes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they knew. or part of them did, maybe another aspect of them.
Okay, it's Noonan, Noonan, not Newman.
Noonan. Okay.
Noonan?
Really?
Noonan.
Ooh,
is
that's
what.
Is that
Noonan.
changed? That seems different.
That seems different too. Did the timeline just switch on?
How fast are things changing now? And it makes you wonder when we look these things up on Google and stuff, is it changing things? You know, now AI is capable of actually changing search engine results.
Yeah,
And huge shout out to everybody. Sorry, Chris, give me just 1 second. Huge shout out to everybody in the chat. By the way, we're so glad to have all of you guys here. I know we haven't really interacted with you guys a whole lot today, but we really do appreciate all of you guys hanging out with us. Carry on, Chris. Sorry about that.
Yeah, the Noonan, Noonan, that's something different. This is that's Bill Newman and Gail Newman.
Oh, so it is Newman. So it's two different.
Yeah, like Paul Newman.
But are there also Noonans involved as well? That's interesting.
There's something else related to the Noonan family, but it's not this family that's on the ground.
You know what's funny is that these are new men in the picture, and their name is Newman.
I like it.
That's a great point.
It's a clue. It's a clue. They're new, man. It's like that dad joke. How come the lifeguard didn't save the hippie? Because he was too far out, man.
Speaking of far out, before we go any further, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys would like to help us out, that would be far out also. We are a 501c3 organization. We do take donations. If you would like to send super stickers, super chats, super donations of any type, we would very, very much appreciate it. It goes towards making sure we are able to put on more conferences, do more events with the community, things like that. None of us make a single penny off any of this. So if you do donate, you're donating to the organization and not us directly, just so you're aware. With that said, folks, we really, really appreciate all of you guys being here with us today, whether you are in live or after the show. We appreciate you guys. If you're after the show, make sure you head on over to Patreon. Become a Patreon member, folks. You can catch our green room sessions. I said it right that time. I didn't say green screen. Our green room sessions every month. We do one right before the show, and it's just for the people on Patreon. It's things we don't normally talk about on YouTube. So make sure you guys go over and check out Patreon, and any donations you give are very much appreciated and thanked. With that said, let's get back to the show.
Yeah, one thing about the green room is that sometimes we'd create something that's a mini-sode, and you'll get first dibs on the mini-sodes. So if it turns out to be almost like its own little episode, then Patreon gets the first crack, first look.
Today's was definitely a mini-sode.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Looks like Shane has stepped away for a moment. Oh, there he is. Welcome back, Shane.
I like that comment by Go Kart Bob.
Yeah, I was just reading that.
Heather, can you put that on the screen about how does
the coffee?
Yeah, the coffee.
I'm not exactly going to read this. I don't think any of us are, but you guys can read it for yourselves on screen.
Thank you, Bob.
Appreciate
I needed a good laugh.
Yeah. I think our next slide is still looking at JFK pictures. I put the slideshow together this month. We take turns, and we're on this slide. Yeah, this is really interesting. And now we're looking at the actual action. Well, it's not really an action shot, but it shows action when you look at the picture. Sometimes when you look at a picture, you can see that there's been a physical force. In this case, someone really slammed the brakes on, because look at the first row of the
driver and the security.
Yeah, their heads are almost hitting the windshield. And I don't remember that much forward force from the braking action. And that would mean that Jackie can't, as she's trying to climb to the back of the vehicle, she's obviously fighting against that braking force as well. So it's harder for her to climb forward. But something else to look at, there's a lot to look at here. There's a lot in this picture. Maybe I'll hand it over to you, Chris, because you could walk us through this.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot here. Like you said, one of the things that first stood out to me was now you can see the driver and the Secret Service person in the front, like their heads hitting the windshield, from how hard the car was braked. I never saw that before. Don't ever remember seeing that at all.
Yeah.
You can more clearly see the yellow roses in the car that Governor Conley's wife had. You could kind of see them in other shots. And I've looked over. I spent so much time trying to find like a clear shot of the yellow roses because Jackie had the red roses and Governor Conley's wife had the yellow roses. And this shot here, all of a sudden, there are the yellow roses. They're really, really easy to see.
Wow.
And then, like the text of this slide reads, they were on their way to a building in the Stemmons Plaza, or owned by Stemmons. And if you guys watched the other video we did about the Stemmons witches, you'll know what we're talking about. They were on their way to the Dallas Trade Mart building. There were 2,500 people waiting, they heard the news. There's like videos of them, like all hearing the news at the same time. And this luncheon was ready to so they were basically on their way to lunch, right? 2,500 people. I think they were T-bone steaks for every person. So there was like a lot of like money that went into this lunch that just never happened the way it was.
Making me hungry, Chris.
Yeah. So they were on their way to this Trade Mart, which was owned by Stemmons, and Old Man Stemmons was actually going to be part of that as well. And then there's one more thing that we talk about.
What is that Secret Service guy holding on to?
Yeah.
Next slide, please. Can we get a close up on that? Oh, we can. What is this, Chris?
Those are handles. I never saw these handles before. Well, first of all, let me go back a step. The car that's right behind them, that car has a name. And when I was first
most cars have a name. I'm kidding.
It's got like the red light on it too, but it's called the Queen. When I first looked to it, it was called the Queen Mary. Oh. Now it's always been called the Queen Mary II. I never remember seeing Queen Mary II. I just always remember seeing Queen Mary. That's really weird. That car had a name. But those handles, because it was designed so that where the bumper is, you could stand, and then you could actually like ride it and just hold on to the handles. So in past videos, you would see the Secret Service agent like climb up onto the trunk, and I never saw him grab onto a handle and hoist himself up with a handle. He just like scurried up the trunk. Now we've got handles on the car, so we've got changing as well.
And he was hanging on to that in the last picture too. You can see him sort of grabbing it.
Yeah.
I don't ever remember those handles being there.
Oh.
And there's a video here. I don't remember.
Yeah, there's a very short. It's just a few seconds long.
Maybe we'll play that.
It's going to show.
Everything seemed normal as the president's Secret Service.
Technical.
Everything seemed normal as the president's Secret Service bodyguards kept their ever watchful eyes on the crowd. Everything seemed normal as the president's motorcade began its journey.
It's the handles. We're looking at the handles.
Everything seemed normal. That is, up until this instant.
Out.
What took place is so odd that we're going to examine the scene 4 more times. Watch the left side of your screen. The arrow points to Agent in Charge, Emery Roberts, as he stands in the Secret Service follow-up car and motions with his hand. What he is doing is calling away the president's 2 most important bodyguards, the bodyguards whose job was to protect the president's back by riding on the bumper of the limousine throughout the motorcade.
Okay, that's good.
Watch again as he...
Yeah.
Thanks, Heather.
Yeah, I think the point of that video too was to show the car with the handles and how what they would actually stand on the bumper. The bumper had like a spot for you to stand on. We don't have any shots of it here, but the back of the car, that keeps changing with the whole spare tire thing. Yeah, there's just so many things that keep changing. This is like, to me, the perfect way to show people how like timelines work, especially when it comes to the JFK assassination.
Because this keeps, the JFK keeps changing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The guy pushing the bodyguards back and telling them not to get on the bumper. I don't remember that.
Yeah, that's another new thing for me too. And there weren't these handles for them to be holding on to.
That should have been a big part of the investigation. The fact that the guy like that should have been a lead to a cover up right there. And yet, no.
Right.
No, it's not right.
Rose in the chat says, me either. Handles seem new.
Thank you. Yeah, they're new for me too.
Now
I can't help but see them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, like the big American flags on either side of the front of the car.
Right.
Like, I don't ever remember seeing those either. They were, if they were there, they were not so prominent as they are now.
Right.
Green Heart says, getting on the bumper, I remember, but not the handles.
Right. He runs up and jumps on the bumper and kind of claws up, trying to hold on while Jackie's doing whatever Jackie's doing. What? There was no handles for him to grab up on.
No. But you can see it in the video. They're hanging on, then they're told to let go and step off. Really interesting. This is wild.
Fascinating. It is really, really the fact that JFK keeps changing so very much. Chris, get your eyes off of it, dadgummit. You can't change the reality.
I know. I swear, every time, like, I'll take a look every month or so, and every time I do, I'm like, that's new.
No joke. SMQ Chick and I, back in the day, were doing World War II, and every darn time we looked into it, it was getting worse for us. But it was changing every single time.
So would you think this is a sign of timeline tug of wars? Is there something going on that's pulling it around? What do you think?
That's a really good question, Chris.
Yeah, like what is could we be going to a timeline where something else happened? Like I think this isn't the end of it. I think there's going to be more and more things.
Well, I'm gonna take a Chris moment. Apologize for interrupting you, sir, but we just had the JFK files released, correct? So now we're starting to get a handle on things, right?
Couldn't resist.
Good. I'm sorry, Chris.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, I think people were waiting for some kind of groundbreaking information. And I think there were more clues, you can see more of the CIA's involvement, but there was nothing really groundbreaking. There was nothing there that's going to put any blame on anyone, at least as far as what I have come across.
But definitely a lot of new JFK Mandela effects coming into place. Yeah, there was no real mind-blowing wows in that information. Yeah.
And then what's interesting too is I'm just going to say it and put it out there. Is it possible that was a clone? That JFK was a clone? And I know that sounds like way out there. But I just wanted to lay that out there because when I try to get the signature frequency off of things and try to figure out who is what, who is who, so to speak. And I get the frequency of a clone. Now I'm still coming into fine tuning the type of things and kind of understanding what I'm seeing. But I think that's something that should be left on the table as a possibility, that perhaps the real JFK, if you want to say the real thing, maybe exited, and lived out life someplace else. Who knows?
With Hitler in Brazil. I'm kidding. Argentina.
Antarctica, yeah.
Right.
Under Mount Eberus on Ross Island, yeah.
But if now I'm going to add some light to what you just said, Chris. If Roswell in 47 occurred, which I believe it did, and we reverse engineered the tech, and if the cloning tech is reverse engineered tech, then it is likely that could be the case. They had it done. Well, that was what, 62? That was plenty of time away. If you guys excuse me a minute, I got to step aside one more time.
Yeah, 63. Yeah, so exactly. So is it possible that there's technology out there that we don't know about, and that technology related to cloning has just gotten better and better and better? So some things to consider.
There's a lot to think about for sure.
Yeah.
And what about the tug of war timelines for you, Shane? Any thoughts on that?
I just think it's interesting that all of the popular events seem to change quite often, whether it's, the JFK or 9/11 or that seems to be a big one that, you seem to look at things and find things you didn't see every time you look at it, that just don't line up. Like the hotel was a big one for me. It's like, what? All the footage and we didn't see this hotel there the whole time, so some of it's just wild to me, but it seems to happen around the really pivotal events that people remember, like where you were. Well, JFK was before I was born, but for most people, they remember where they were when 9/11 happened. It's like one of those events that sort of bridge us all together in that moment in time. And it seems like it does change quite often when we have those moments like that.
And there's a physics perspective that could explain partly why this is, or how this is happening. And that would be that Wigner bubble effect. So that if you've got someone observing 9/11 or observing the JFK assassination, and you got an observer of the observer, that's enough to actually change what's observed. So if they're opening the box to see if Schrodinger's cat is dead or alive, you can have the cat looks dead to the first person who opens it, but subsequently someone else can observe and it can be alive. And that's a pretty trippy concept, but it's absolutely physics, solid physics, starting to get proven in the laboratory, experiments. And I think that might be what we're looking at, which is really out there. To say
that explains one weird aspect of the Mandela effect, why some people see them and others don't.
And how you can see more and more, how you can keep looking at the JFK, and as more and more people keep looking at it, like, really, there's something weird? And it's getting weirder.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention too that I'm putting together like a short video that's, the title of it is How a Quantum Computer Works in 4 minutes or Less. And what I'm doing is I'm presenting another way to look at the reality and how quantum computers are actually accessing the information and working so quickly. And to give you guys a clue, have you ever seen the concept of video feedback, where if you take like a video camera and point it into the monitor, you see like the same image, mirror image over and over again? Mm-hmm. It's that same type of concept that happens related to timelines, and how the quantum computers look at copies of themselves across the timelines to figure out which one has the answer. And it goes exponentially. So these qubits, the way they work is like they can look out to see millions and millions of timelines. And I think Microsoft has a new one. Moderna is the name of it. It's built on a completely new type of material that doesn't have to deal with all the vibrations that a classical one does. But basically, I lay it out. But the reason I'm mentioning this is because I think it also proves the Mandela effect. So the way quantum computers process their data is the same phenomena that gives us the Mandela effect. And when people start to put the two and two together, it gives you like a big aha moment, like, oh, that's how it actually works, without getting into all the technical details. Because a lot of people can't explain it. They're like, if you can explain quantum mechanics,
if you understand quantum mechanics, then you don't understand quantum mechanics.
Yeah. and it's the way it's presented, it's hard. But if you look at it from another angle, which I'm going to present, I think people will be like, oh, now I get it. So, and it makes sense.
Another good resource for this discussion is Rizwan Virk's book about the Mandela effect, because he does have a programming background and he gets a little bit into that too. And he does a really great job of clarifying how to think about the programming side of it and the reality. So, yeah, I'm glad you're putting a video together on that, but looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'll have to have you preview it, Cynthia, before I release it to the public. Get like the Cynthia stamp of approval.
Yay. Yeah, I think maybe Heather's back now, because we can move to the next. We're waiting for her to come back.
Yep, she's back.
Yay.
Welcome back, Heather. Amazing producer behind the scenes. For those who don't know, we really, really appreciate her. She's the one that holds this all together and actually makes this thing work. Snow White put out a new movie. Disney did. a new version which hasn't done so well at the box office, and it also hasn't done well amongst Mandela affected, as there's a well-known Mandela effect in this movie that is stuck with the new way instead of the way we remember. Of course, we're talking about Mirror, Mirror on the Wall. It turns out in this movie, it is just like in the cartoon, magic mirror on the wall, la-di-da-di-da-di-da. Cynthia, what do you got on this?
We can roll the clip. We have a video clip. Let's roll. Take a look at it.
It's a magical place. Is anybody here?
On March 21st, Snow White.
Snow White?
Snow White.
I believe you're looking for me.
At last, what be? The classic story
Magic mirror on the wall.
comes to life.
Who's the fairest one of all?
Can you point me in the right direction?
Magic mirror on the wall. Who is the fairest of them all?
I am only bound by what is true. The fairest is not you.
What did you say?
On March 21st, experience the classic tale
Can you point me in the right direction?
like never before.
I'm sorry, my dear. Did I frighten you?
When I was a little girl, my mother taught me how to whistle, because when you whistle, it's your heart singing.
We want to stop it here. If there's something else that we want to say.
Well, that's enough.
Magic mirror on the wall. Who is the fairest
Go
of
ahead
them
and
all?
get it.
Yeah, we got it. Okay,
Yeah,
so
Perfect.
I was going to say, like when we've played these type of previews before, all of a sudden, like YouTube will cut the feed, or we get a message you can't monetize, blah blah blah.
Right.
So I think if we show too much of this, Disney will
Right.
be like,
yeah,
cut them
Well,
off
it's just
now.
the trailer, right? It's the public trailer. We're not showing the actual movie.
I know, but we've done trailers before, and it's done like the trailers.
Really?
Yeah. In any
Not
event,
surprised.
we're still on the air, so that's good. Go out and see Snow White.
Well, since we've been demonetized, ladies and gentlemen, we could really use some super chats. That would be absolutely awesome.
Well, anyway, yeah, it's a surprise. It's not too surprising that they're saying magic mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest of them all? Because that is what Snow White seems to have switched over to, and a lot of us remember mirror, mirror on the wall, including Walt Disney remembered that when he was alive. So interesting.
Yeah, that clip that Shane found, I don't think we have that available. That was a great one where Walt Disney himself says "Mirror, mirror on the wall."
Yes.
Yeah, it was a Christmas episode, I think. Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
wow.
There's also a movie called Snow White and the Huntsman that came out around 2012, and they would do that, had "Mirror, mirror on the wall" as well. So we definitely have the residue. And I know when I talk to people about Mandela effects, one of the first ones I mention is "Mirror, mirror," because literally almost 100% of people will say "Mirror, mirror on the wall."
Right.
And they get super confused at magic mirror on the wall.
Right.
So now we have this like in the front of public's perception again.
Very
So-
interesting. Yeah, go
Of
ahead.
course, this reminds me a lot of Christmas, right? With being a child or whatnot.
Yeah.
Christmas was my favorite time. And one of the toys when I was a child was called a glowworm. These were these really fascinating creatures that they'd light up, and they're little like kind of stuffies, and they were from a cartoon. They were just a cartoon character, right? Next slide, please.
Yeah, I thought they were just like figment of the imagination.
Ladies and gentlemen, meet cave glowworm. Are glowworm caves new to you? Glowworms are new to me. They exist around the world, including in Alabama. I'm sorry, what? And New Zealand.
That is surprising.
There's a 2024 Netflix film Damsel that features a glowworm cave. Again, we have a video for this one.
We
Also,
have two videos.
we have
Yeah.
two videos. So let's start at the top video with the glowworm cave.
We're in New Zealand, Kiwi Cave. This is not the Alabama.
go ahead and stop this. You get the idea here. This cave full of glowing worms. The chat is interesting. The chat actually knows of this to be a thing. I am says not new at all. Have seen them in New Zealand 20 years ago.
Nice.
Turns out Jackie McCarran, Jackie, I apologize, also had seen them in New Zealand. So this is interesting.
How about Alabama? Anybody see them in Alabama yet?
Right. I didn't know that
coming to a state near you.
And okay, if there's something that's on the other side of the earth that I don't know about, that's fair. But I would like to think that when glowworms become a big thing, it would have been known that these are based off of a real creature and not just this fantastical imaginary thing,
Yes.
right? And maybe it was and I didn't know it, but this is definitely new to me. Definitely something I didn't know existed.
And something good to point out is sometimes with the Mandela effect, it's not a change for everyone. Some people, like especially with Nelson Mandela, a whole huge majority of people in South Africa say that he never died in the 1980s, and they think we're nuts to remember that there was all that controversy, that we remembered similar details about Winnie having, fighting and battling. It was a terrible thing. She was dealing with the death of her husband, and then she's dealing with the proceeds from his estate. It was a mess. And all the huge, I remember a lot of details about that, but that never happened for most South Africans. And that is still definitely the Mandela effect in action. You got subjective observations, so you don't have objective reality, and that's okay. The universe doesn't require it. And that's kind of the weird thing about the physics of all this. You can absolutely have very subjective experiences.
Well, it goes back to what you were saying is the Wigner bubbles.
Yes. Reality bubbles, another name for it, but yeah, Wigner bubbles. Giving credit to Eugene Wigner, the physicist, who first proposed that may be true. And then it's experimentally proven in that experiment that happened and was written up in 2019. So we have another clip here too, if you want to play that. Now that is fiction. This is from the Netflix film Damsel, featuring a glowworm cave.
It would probably be it's Hollywooded up for real.
Yeah, that's what you'd expect from Hollywood. It looks a little different than the actual cave.
Right. See, seeing this, I would not have thought glowworms. I would have thought it's just like crystals glowing or something in a cave.
Yeah, and there's different types of glowworms too. I think some are actually a type of beetle, and they can make these hanging structures that glow as well. So there's more than one kind.
But there you can see the worm.
Okay, there you see.
Yes, more like a larvae, but yeah.
Right.
And
that's not what they look like. The toys.
I won't hurt you.
As far as like style,
really?
Goes. Like like larvae, yeah.
So you had a toy like that what year was that when you saw the toy?
That was 86, 87. Glowworms you can still find them online if Heather wants to. If she wants to go find a picture of the glowworms, she can. That's an if. It's up to you.
There's more.
Now, are you talking about the ones that only the head glowed and then they had like a stuffed animal body?
Yeah.
Oh.
Had that hard plastic head. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Right. Well, that's not like these. These are different. These are.
No, you're talking about a blown up version for a child, but the small one looked like, you know what I mean, like the same style, larvic. She found them. The glowworms. That's them.
Too funny.
Yeah, these were toys when I was a kid, and nothing more that I knew of than just.
That was my little buddy. What do you mean a toy?
Right?
Like looking at an old friend.
Yeah, those were so cool. But I don't remember them being anything other than just a child's friend.
So you wouldn't type it in and get pictures of actual glowworms on the page?
No, man. That's all new to me.
Nice.
Yeah, I was wondering if we could go back and address something. I was looking at the comments, and there's a comment on there by Go-Kart Bob, who says that Mirror Mirror is not a Mandela effect. So I wanted to address that. because I believe what's being said is that there's another movie called 101 Dalmatians, and now there's Cruella de Vil looks in the mirror and says, "Mirror, mirror on the wall."
Okay.
That's the Mandela effect for me. I don't remember that.
No, I do not remember that ever being.
Clearly remember Snow White, 110%.
Yeah.
So when it comes to these Mandela effects, it's like people like the global narrative will say that, the Monopoly man having a monocle. The global narrative tells us you're getting that confused with Mr. Peanut,
right?
Who has a monocle.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, Mr. Peanut does have a monocle, but it's not. It's the Monopoly man, Uncle Pennybags, I think is his name.
Well, that works in America, but it doesn't work in, say, UK, where they didn't get introduced to Mr. Peanut.
Exactly. Yeah, there was, I think, a talk show we played a clip of a talk show where they were talking about that and trying to convince the woman, and she's like, "Who's Mr. Peanut?" Like, what are you talking about? And she always remembered, the Monopoly man wearing the monocle. So it's the same thing. And some things may be like not a Mandela effect for people, especially if you're from another part of the world. So if you're from Australia or New Zealand, like if you're from Australia, you may have always known about the rainforest penguins, but as an example, you may have always known that penguins live in the rainforest. To me, that was completely new, but because you live there, that's not a Mandela effect. So, and it's also another matrix, because you've got the Earth realm, people call this the matrix, but there's matrices within matrices as well. And then those will come together. So countries can have its own matrix, and then states within those countries. So it starts to get a little bit complicated depending on where you are and what timelines you're navigating through at the time. So, but I just want to make it clear that for some people, like, we see things as like clear, like we know what's changed, and other people might say no. It's always like, there's people like Go-Kart Bob who will say it's always been magic mirror to him. Like, he doesn't understand the whole concept of mirror, mirror. Where those of us here are like, what the heck? Like, we know it was mirror, mirror. So I just wanted to like throw that out there, as an example of different types of ways you can look at it and different points of view that you can have.
Thank you.
Speaking of matrix, the picture on our next slide looks a lot like a matrix. Last month, we touched on the Statue of Liberty, ladies and gentlemen, and I agree we did not give this enough airtime, if you will. This is just absolutely fascinating. Which arm do you remember holding the torch on the Statue of Liberty? The left arm or the right arm? So the torch stands more than 16 foot tall and weighs 3,600 pounds.
Is just what it looks like when it's just by itself. So we can go to see if anybody's answering in the chat. Take a poll real quick. I can tell you what I remember. I think I said it when we had Lee from Crazy's Labs with us.
Yeah. By the way, like, so I didn't watch that show. I didn't have any idea.
Yeah.
You guys.
Thank you, Lee. I agree. That's what I remember.
Yeah, I just want to mention, like, I had no idea that you guys talked about this. I just happened to randomly see a picture of the Statue of Liberty, and I was like, what's wrong with this picture? Like,
thank you.
Like, so, like, independently of you guys talking about it, like, I discovered it as well. And it's cool how these things work.
Yes.
So, yeah, you guys literally
definitely good validation.
What about you, Shane? What's your recollection?
I'm not sure about which arm it was, but I know that flame didn't look that wild and getting blown off to the side like that. That's new for me. Can we go back to the previous shot where it was just the flame for a moment and see if that looks weird to anybody else? This sort of flame getting blown one direction so far like that.
And how
I thought it was a little wild, but going more up, having it go this much to the side.
I remember it going up.
Yeah, up. Yeah, I remember it like a flame, kind of going up, but not like, being blown to the side so far off.
Yeah, so far off.
Maybe a little bit, but yeah,
but not that much. This is a lot.
And we'll have another shot of it actually lit up, which actually looks strange to me too. Were you saying that you don't even think it lit up from inside of it before? Yeah, there we go.
And see, this looks totally wrong. This is like
that looks really cool. I mean, it looks really fiery, like it's.
But it's the wrong arm.
Right. So there it is.
Like it looks so wrong.
It does look mirrored to me. It does feel funny with the right. So
yeah, it's to me it's definitely mirrored, and the torch did not look like that or light up like that. Like it didn't. So yeah, so when I saw this, I'm like, what? Yet another timeline. And what does it mean? Like switching positions of the arms, right? Left arm to right arm. Like, what does that mean? Does that mean that there's been some kind of something behind the scenes that happened?
Passing the baton, maybe, sort of?
Yeah, related to how the reality works. Yeah.
Well, this ties in with stuff we've talked about. Like Shane, you did a big presentation on that, the left brain and the whole
moving to the
thing.
right. That's what I was wondering.
Move to the right. And so now it's happening, and now some of us are upset.
I love it. Igniting that right part of the brain now.
Thanks, Shane. You moved the friggin' statue's arm. What'd you do that
for? So it makes me wonder, like, the Black Tom attack still happened, right? So did they repair the torch in a different way now? Or?
Well, that's another thing. So there's conflicting information now about that torch. Some say the damage still remains from the 1916 Black Tom explosion. And others say, and I don't know which is true, that the brand new copper torch was replaced in 1986 with 24 karat gold leaf. I don't know. I mean, you start wondering about what's going on here. I have no idea.
That it's definitely a new torch for me. Like I think that story about the torch being completely replaced in 86 is actually true for this timeline.
Okay.
For me anyway, because it's completely new. And how bright it lights up.
Yeah.
I've seen pictures of the Statue of Liberty at night, and you don't notice the torch like that at all.
No. And what if you fly over the city? You'd think you'd see this, if you're flying into New York City at night. It would stand out.
It's almost like a mirror image of what it was.
Thank you. You too. So there's three of us. Three for sure. We're just like, this is... And then Shane's the one who probably wanted it to change. Well, not consciously.
Yeah, I remember last month or so when we seen it, I was like, no, that's absolutely not right. That's opposite what I remember. We've been looking at this thing for years, and that's gargantuan. Like, this is one of those big changes.
What are we seeing in the chat? Any agreement or a little bit about?
We're having a bit of a disagreement, but it's not with us.
Oh.
Or a change.
For a change.
Okay. Some of both, left and right, both.
Red Shadow says right hand looks normal to me. She's holding the tabrets differently than I remember, though.
Thank you. That's the other thing.
Yeah, weren't they closer to
I remember it closer to the body.
Yeah.
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 Not held way out here.
Right.
No.
That does seem kind of strange. I thought it was
way out. Looks like a proclamation of some sort.
Yeah. Maybe more open heart.
Mm-hmm.
Move to the right, maybe on the right path, maybe right where we need to be. I don't know.
Well, right brain is that intuitive side. So moving away from the rational analytical to the intuitive information. Put the intuitive first.
Red Shadow says, yes, the tablets were closer. Yes. So that we all agree on that then. That's interesting. Or at least a majority of us here agree on that. Let me rephrase that.
Let's hope they don't turn into tables like the 10 Commandments.
Right, the 10 tables.
Right. Just for people that don't know, the 10 Commandments are now written on tables instead of tablets.
Right.
It's always been that way. Yeah.
Written by Noe.
Wild stuff. Wild stuff.
No, it's not written by Noe. I know that. It was written by God. But Noe is a character. He was Noah. Now he's Noe.
Maybe we can go to the next slide. We've got a few more slides.
They're just mocking us because the Berenstein has no E. Ha.
I was going to say the Black Tom event still occurred. So the Black Tom event, I think it was in 1916, where the shrapnel from Black Tom Island hit the torch on the Statue of Liberty and disabled it. So now it's being held up in the other arm now. So the shrapnel still hit it, like it still got the goal, so to speak.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so keep that in mind too, because if it was a change in the arms, the positioning would be different as well.
That is interesting. You're right. For those of us that noticed it changed, some people didn't notice it's ever been different.
Yeah, and there's so many, like the Statue of Liberty, Liberty Island. There's a Mandela effect for a lot of people. The Statue of Liberty is now not part of New York. It's always been part of New Jersey, being over Fort Wood, which is a star fort. There's a lot of these Mandela effects people have spotted with the Statue of Liberty. So just throwing that out there too.
Yeah.
So according to a quick search, since 1916, no one's been allowed up in the torch still. So that's official. So those who remember the pictures and taking pictures in the 60s and 70s up from the torch, it couldn't have happened because you weren't allowed in.
Sorry. Funny. Okay. So some of these changes are still the same. Okay.
And let's go on to that next slide. We had stepped on real close. The Pope is not the only one who has passed this month. Unfortunately, Val Kilmer, who played as Batman as well as in Top Gun, has passed away. To some, again, that's right. Some people recall hearing that the news of his passing happened back at the end of the filming of Top Gun Maverick, which was about 2 or 3 years ago.
Yes.
I'm not sure on this one. He only passed once for me, but that's just me.
For me, it was once, but I've heard from people writing to me, and they're reporting these reality shifts that I put in my monthly newsletter. So definitely, there are people noticing, and they agree on the time frame. They're pretty much coming in saying it happened around right before that Top Gun newest film came out, the Maverick film, that he was in the film, and then he passed away.
Yeah, I definitely remember him passing away too. I remember seeing the Maverick film on a flight that was maybe like a month or so that came out after Maverick, the movie came out. And I remember like watching it and being like, oh, you're watching somebody that just passed when I saw that. And you could tell too from how sick he was, even in the movie, like he just wasn't well. So it kind of made sense. And then to find out that, oh, he just died the other week. It's like, my mind, help me. Mandela effects.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise had given he put out a statement about it as well. So yeah.
A couple of years ago.
A couple of years ago.
Okay. For those of us who remember. Wow. He's such a great actor. Brilliant.
I remember having a conversation about him during the movie, but I'm not sure that I remember him dying still, back then.
Okay.
Yeah, and he actually did a lot of movies in this timeline.
He was in a lot of stuff.
He was in almost every year since 2012. He was in 1 or 2 movies, and I had no idea.
Wow.
A lot of them would be cameo appearances, but he'd still be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fascinating. How about you, Shane? Any recollection on this?
No, I don't remember him passing away or anything.
Okay.
So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Val Kilmer has passed away. To some people, he's passed away again. To others, this is the first time. What do you remember? Speaking of remember, the reality itself has had a bit of a memory going on for a while. It's been recalling species that have no longer been with us, and it's been pulling these species back into reality. And ladies and gentlemen, we have yet another one of these Lazarus species. As you guys know, I've got a hell of a soft spot in my heart for these creatures, and the reason, real quick, for those that have been wondering for a while, why am I so obsessed with the Lazarus creatures? When we first started doing Mandela Effect research, we noticed that, I noticed personally, that there were these creatures that were coming back on the timeline. And then I noticed that, once I started tracking it, I noticed that within 6 months, I had 30 or 40 that had come back already. And I knew there was something to this. And then luckily when we started IMEC, we also carried on this research, and we have been able to find a large number of these Lazarus species that just keep popping back into reality all of a sudden. More so, in my opinion, than just random chance. So that's why I have such a soft spot for this, because this is a research thing that I started with the Mandela Effect, and it just keeps coming up over and over. So it validates my research, right? That's why I like it. Not gonna lie, it validates what I've been finding. This Lazarus species, more than 100, or I'm sorry, let's pull that back onto the screen there. Sorry, I forgot we didn't have it on screen. There we go. More than 120 years after its disappearance, this rare frog has resurfaced in mountain streams in Chilean Andes of South America. The Alceres vitaeus, I really hope I said that right, a small frog known only from old records and a single specimen, was first described in 1902 as featuring yellowish stripe running the length of its back. Researchers searched for the lost frog from 2015 to 2024, mostly at night when frogs are most active, discovering 5 previously unknown populations of the frog.
They're back. In
force, not just 1 or 2. This is full populations they found.
Yeah, I love it. And I love that gold color too. It's, sometimes we look at the gold animals, the white animals, and gold is special to me. And I love like you, Jerry, I love the Lazarus species. I love them because I heard about them before finding any of them from the Hopi prophecy, when I heard about the Hopi prophecy in the 1980s and 90s. And I was amazed that they were talking about extinct animal species would be returning. And I thought, what does that mean? And now we know what that means. It's like, okay, the coelacanth fish, that huge Galapagos tortoise, and this month, this beautiful rare frog from the Chilean.
One of them like a gargantuan bat or something?
There may have been. Yeah, we've had the large animals really get to me, like the large fishes, the large tortoises. And like, how could they have gone hiding? Like,
how do you miss that?
Yeah. But when they talk about tiny clams off the coast of California, like, okay, those are very minuscule. But it's kind of strange because we have a lot of people in the water off the coast of California looking at these they should have seen the tiny clams. There are profusions of them now, whereas before they were completely extinct. So, all this is strange and cool.
Very strange indeed. The yellow stripe down the back looks cool. It almost makes it look like a cardboard cutout of a frog, right? Like a side view picture or something.
Yeah. And when we look at prophecy, that makes it sound like the Hopi were actually prophesizing the Mandela Effect, thousands of years ago. That's what they were basically saying. Extinct species will come back. Like, when you think about that, like, what does that mean? And then you realize, oh, this is what it means. And now we're tracking some of them, like the dodo bird, getting closer and closer and closer to being in our timeline. Like, that is really wild.
And scientists just say, well, if you recreate the ecosystem, they'll just suddenly come back, because that's how science works. They just pop back in when the ecosystem's ready, right? Yeah. That makes sense. Okay.
That is what's happening. So they're correct, but it's not like any science I learned in school, not in biology that I took.
No, it don't fit their other science. They hope you won't go look at the other stuff and go, wait a minute, that ain't right. 3:33. It was 3:33. Yes. Yeah. And what a perfect time to introduce our next topic of all things, our last topic article of the day. Ladies and gentlemen, we all have mind matter powers, the ability to affect the outside world with our minds. Our brains appear to have built-in psychokinetic capabilities that are stymied by built-in blockages to prevent us from utilizing them. Guess where these powers and blockages are located, Cynthia?
Yeah, it's going to be the left medial temporal range of the brain. So just like the torch moved from the left rational side over to the right, it was long suspected by a lot of researchers that we have interference preventing us from exercising all of our psionic powers, our psi powers, the ability to do mind-matter interaction. And so the researchers here conducted an experiment where they used a technology of RTMS That's transcranial stimulation of the brain. And so they did a good experiment in the sense that they had lots of volunteers to get temporary lesions placed in their brain by this RTMS technology. So people volunteered to do that. And the people who had the brain lesion blocking the blockage, basically. So there is a part of our brain actively interfering with our ability to basically, what the researchers were doing is having, just with mind power alone, asking people, please control the mouse on your screen with your brain. Do not touch anything. Just do that with your brain. And it's not using the neural chip or anything like that. And guess what? People could do that. And the ones who could do it best were the ones that had the brain lesion blocking the blockage. So there's something blocking us. I think this ties in with that torch, because, it's moving it. Like, what if you block that side and you don't let the rational analytical interference happen? I actually use this as a protocol if I'm doing blind readings for clients. I don't put a brain lesion on my brain, but I distract myself. I'll shut down the left side of my brain either through meditation or just practice, or just busy it with some little activity that the left brain likes to do while I'm doing basically remote viewing to do a blind read on something. So it's very powerful. And I know it works better for psychic powers as well. Like the experiment that I was working on last year with ions and Dean Radin, the sigil experiment with the interferon device. And I talked about that at my Nashville talk, so people can watch that. But this is really big news. This is huge, actually. It means that you don't have to do a brain lesion to shut this down. There are basically ways that you can go into a trance state through, and QHHT is great, like what you're doing, Shane. People that are doing drumming and shamanic stuff, music can help you. There's so many different ways to, enter into what's called contact modalities. I think Grant Cameron and Desta Barnaby wrote a book about it. So they have hundreds of ways to do this. So not including brain lesions. So you don't need to do the brain lesion, fortunately. But we do indeed seem to have something actively interfering with our ability to change the weather, to bring prayers for healing for someone, to exert mental influence on everything. Maybe until we reach a point where we must be this tall to get on that ride, we're not supposed to be doing that. And I think now humanity has reached that point where maybe we can be trusted when we love everybody and wish the best for all concerned, and actually constantly ask, how good can it get? Not just for myself, but for everyone. Once you've got those safeguards in place, I think we're ready. And this is another evolutionary step. So this is big. This is actually huge.
And I really believe we are evolving into something like this. We've talked for months now, and I brought it up, I think, at the beginning of the year. I'm sorry, beginning of last year now. Has it been that long? Anyway, how it seems to me that the more people I'm around, I'm syncing up with very easily, psychically speaking. Of course, my daughter I'm around all the time, so that don't really count. But coworkers, other people I'm around, I'm finding it happen very, very easily. And I've actually heard a lot of stories from other people that I know of the exact same thing. People showing psychic awareness, if you will, without knowing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think the tug of war, the timeline wars, would be an indicator that we're getting into that Mandela Effect sort of range. Like it's like in a playground, the two kids or two teams of kids want the same toy, the glowworm toy, and they're pulling on it. And, who's going to get that? If you're just using your mental powers, which reality is going to win out? And it's very interesting. Actually, when I was growing up, my dad would say that he could flip a coin or draw straws for my sister and I to get to see who gets what we wanted. And he thought it was perfectly random, but we knew in advance, like if it's a coin flip, I knew she's going to win. And if it's drawing straws, it's like, I'm going to win. And that was really weird. So then he'd say, like, we're going to draw straws. And I'd be like, yay. My sister would be like, ah. And then he'd say, this is random. And we'd look at each other like, no, it's not. It was like super hilarious. So funny. Hilarious. And I can actually predict coins now because I know I get it wrong. So I just know, like, well, I'm going to get that wrong. So then I know exactly how to get it right. It's like, what do I think it is? I think it's that. Well, then it's obviously the opposite. Very funny. But anyway, that's a whole different topic. Fascinating nonetheless.
Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that the title of Act 13 of Symphony of Realities is called "The Game is Rigged." So the whole and I'll go to lay out that evidence, as I can. But the whole concept is that we're beginning to understand how the game is played, and it's like going to Las Vegas or going into a casino. The house always wins, and for human existence, for at least the last 12,000 years, the game has been rigged against us. And all these type of things that have been holding us back, I believe they're going to all start breaking down. So whether it's the left and right hemisphere of our brain finally syncing, and we actually have both of them acting in sync, in harmonization perfectly, that's going to be a big deal. And then there's that whole concept of our brain going into our heart and us activating the neurons in our heart as well. That's going to turn on a lot of abilities for people as well. So I think over the next year or two, we're in for a ride. It's going to be like watching sci-fi, but it's going to be real. And it's going to catch a lot of people off guard, but not you guys. We're all ready for this. We're over ready.
Have been ready for a while now.
I know, right? Well, hang on.
Next slide, please. Ladies and gentlemen, do you have any questions or comments for the team? Make sure you let us know. We have people watching the chat. I don't think there's been any questions throughout the day that we've missed. Hopefully, if there has, somebody else has caught them. But if you have any questions on what we've talked about today, make sure you go ahead and put them in chat. We'll come back around to that here in just a couple moments as we go through our mailbag that we have sitting here. So let's go ahead and pop that mailbag open, make a draw, and see what we have first. First, we have from Cloud Records, says, has anybody experienced any Mandela effects around definitions of words? The word elude changed definitions over the past year from referring to now is escaping from. I found this super interesting. I found this while writing lyrics, they say.
This is another one of those where, for me, this one didn't change because for me it was allude with an A, spelled differently. But but this person is remembering. I think that's what they're talking about. Allude. It was spelled with an E before, and I believe them. So I'm just saying, like, for me, this didn't change. But yeah, words definitely change for definitions too. I think this came up in our first 2019 conference, did it not? If I'm remembering correctly. Yeah.
It did. Yes, ma'am.
Came up with a Q&A, right? We had a whole big discussion on it. But what about you guys? Have you run into this personally in your lives?
Not definitions. I've seen a lot of spelling changes.
Yeah.
More so, but I've not really seen many definitions. Now, is it allude opposed to elude? Because reading this, I'm like, you know what? To allude to, I've heard that used before, whereas eluding the police, like, they both make sense.
Right.
But there's the one with I. So you guys are talking about E and A, and I remember it as elude, like I.
Oh my gosh.
And then I just Googled it, and it says allude
it
with an A, elude with an E, and illude are often confused because they share the same root and sound similar. So this one,
okay,
I don't really know. Escape from is the I one though. So,
oh, it is.
Yeah, the definition to escape from now is escaping.
I thought elude was the escape from with the E. Huh.
Right, to elude investigators.
Oh yeah, the E one. The I one means to deceive or trick. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Did I ever tell you guys about the time I lost $50 on the spelling of a word?
No.
Yes. So I went out to dinner with somebody that I work with, and we were talking about different things, and I was talking about supplements, and I was telling her about how I take turmeric. And she's like, you mean turmeric? I'm like, turmeric, what are you talking about? I saw the bottle, and I've been buying it for years. I knew it's turmeric. Mm-hmm. And so she's like, I'll bet you $50. And I lost the $50. This is before I knew about the Mandela effect.
Okay.
And I wanted to mention something too. If anyone has seen the new season of Black Mirror, season 7, episode 2, is primarily featuring the Mandela Effect.
Nice.
And I think that if you guys haven't watched it, you should, if you don't have Netflix, well, I'm assuming that you may, watch it, because we might even want to do a special just breaking down the different Mandela Effect categories that happened during that episode.
That'd be cool.
And the first one is the spelling of a word. So the girl remembers a certain scientific word is spelled a certain way, and then it's not spelled. She gets like a spelling correction error, like it's spelled that way. So she's like, and then the whole thing progresses. But it's really, really cool the way they've done it.
Nice.
So yeah, I think it's something we should consider, because that'd be like a really cool mini-sode or episode to just break down that particular episode of Black Mirror, because there's a lot of really good soft disclosure there.
Would you believe I've never seen a single episode of that show?
I would believe it.
We'll make it a homework project. We'll make it work.
I mean, it's not like something I wouldn't be interested in. I've never watched it. I'm not a TV guy. All right, next slide, please. We have another question from the mailbag. Pulling this one out, it says, if the spelling of a person's name is changed, as if they are merely an object that can be adjusted or renamed, does that mean they are an NPC? Oh, this question is getting into some really interesting territory. Part of the background program in the simulation, or does it mean they entered this timeline we're on and came from a slightly different spelling? And if so, man, there's 15 questions here. Holy crap. I'm not sure what the question is. And if so, where's the version of them that used to be on our timeline? The version of them that we remember is the original spelling of their name. So I've got 9 questions here, and I've got a 10th question. Which one's supposed to be the main one? So let's tackle this little by little. A person name change. So say I went from Hicks to Hix instead of Hicks for whatever reason. Does that mean I'm an NPC? Does that mean that I'm from another timeline that have entered into this? Well, what would that denote, or could that denote?
I mean, I'll take the first part of it. Like, does it mean that they're an NPC? No, I don't think it means necessarily that they're an NPC. Any kind of being can have that kind of a name change happen to them. But it's a good question.
We've actually seen this happen, like with Moneybags, right? 76 or 73. And he's not an NPC. And he does exist in he's real.
My and sign that people remember.
Yes.
Plus
And
Vanessa VA, her name's changed.
Yeah.
People,
you guys are, none of you guys are
I
NPCs.
I don't think it's an indicator of it.
Okay. So we got
proof. But I am biased. Since mine
but there's a lot of evidence. So if people are wondering, like, not sure about that, like, well, wait a minute, look at all the people whose names have changed, then they're not NPCs. So Stavely too, right?
Oh yeah, Stavely's changed a couple of different times, I believe.
So a lot
my
of
wife's spelling changed on her middle name.
On whose middle name? Stavely?
My wife's middle name on her birth certificate changed. The spelling of it.
She's not an NPC.
No.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt, Chris.
Yeah, I was going to say, when it comes to the name changes too, sometimes there are multiple ones that keep changing. So like the current president of Ukraine, is it Zelensky? I've seen it SKY, SKYY, SKI, SKIY. And then, I try to make sense of it. And the global narrative says, well, official Ukrainian would make it this way. And then the Russian version makes it this way. But there's 4 different versions. And they're used all the time. So every time I see like a news item for that, I'm like, okay, which version of Zelensky are we now looking at? Because the names are always different. So that's also a clue as to the way the reality works.
We also remember and it's being brought up in chat here, the Sterling, Rod Serling and Rod Sterling.
And he's not an NPC. Change. He was so tuned in. Yeah. So it seems like these are people timeline jumping. These are the reality shifters themselves. Because when we look at the ones who are changing, they're not the NPCs. These are the real programmers that are, the game masters. These are the key players, the designers. And I think they're quite skilled, quite adept reality shifters. So if they're doing that, and they're coming from slightly different realities, then we get to the question, and I get this one a lot over the years. I've gotten this question, versions of this question. Where is the version of them that used to be on our timeline? And I've had this seriously asked to me. Like, my husband is different. It's like what you said, Jerry. All my friends played, musical personalities, musical chair personalities. Where are they? I mean, and you've lived through it, Jerry. I should hand it to you. What do you think? You saw this.
This is something that has bothered me for a very, very long time. Because as I pointed out in my talks in Connecticut, I believe it was that I gave the talk, where we were discussing theories. And one thing that bothers me about the timeline theory is, if I'm here, what was here before me and where did that go? And what will be here after me if I move again, right? So that is something that has bothered me for a long time. I wish I had an answer. I don't. Could they be also timeline jumping and is just kind of like moving along, next, I don't know. Are they finding themselves in my old body or in another body that I'm yet to make it to yet? This is so fascinating because we know that people are changing. I've seen people within my own friend group's personality completely change and they're not the same people. As a matter of fact, our friend Eva can vouch for that. She's seen it a couple times too amongst our personal friend group of recent. But as far as the first time I seen it, it was the weirdest thing I'd ever seen. It was before Mandela Effect. I had no frame of reference besides sci-fi movies and like reality shifting, right? Like the idea of parallel dimensions in sci-fi reality, right? And even that was still a fringe idea. I had a hard time even making that make sense. But I had a group of 5 friends and myself, and every single one of them had the other's personalities. It's like overnight they all just swapped up personalities into different people. And it's not like they were playing a trick or messing with me. Like, it's genuine. A year later, one of them that I noticed had a personality swap looked at me and goes, "Hey, is everybody in the group suddenly like a different personality?" Are you kidding? I've been telling you this for a hot minute, bro. Is that a joke? But it does happen. It is something that I've witnessed and other people have validated themselves witnessing. Go ahead, Chris. I apologize.
Yes, I was going to say, where is that other version of them on another timeline?
Right.
Well, if that timeline is still existing, they would still be there. But what's happening is the timelines are merging. The older ones that are lower frequency, they're all being collapsed. So maybe that version of that person with that other name just doesn't exist anymore because that timeline's no longer there. It's that same thing where people have a longing to go back. I want to go back to the time when we were on the Sagittarius arm of the, no, sorry, too late.
With the yellow sun, yes.
Yeah, with the yellow sun and all those.
And the moon that didn't collapse into that smile thing.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. The smiling moon with the 2 planets making the smiley face.
Friday, yeah.
Is it Friday?
The 25th. Yes.
The 25th. That's really cool. So Cynthia, one of our viewers sent that in, and I saw that on a news report too. Do you want to explain what we're talking about?
Yeah, there will be 2 planets positioned right over the moon this Friday in 2 days from now. And the moon will be doing its Mandela Effect smiley thing that never used to happen for a lot of us before. And now it's like a thing. The Cheshire moon is what we call it. And I don't know when we first brought this up. Maybe it was with Moneybags, Evan Maitreya. I don't know. But we've been covering it for years now. And the celestial event involves 2 planets. I'm sorry, I don't remember exactly which ones, but it should be viewable worldwide. And look up what those planets are. It'll be a smile face. The 2 planets positioned right over the moon, and then you've got the dark moon, and then the little smile, the crescent moon smile shape.
When universe gives you an emoji,
right?
Like, smile, you're on candid camera.
Oh, I missed that show.
I love
special shout out to Laura Taylor -V9C.
This is a great question, really good. And did we answer the last part? It has to do with the version of them that we remember as the original spelling. Now we're linking up the name spelling and the personality.
And I think that's what
and
Chris
which version?
on.
Yeah. Okay, so
that they would be on another timeline, and that timeline may or may not exist anymore.
And I would say take it case by case. Really take a look at the situation. I'd say use discernment. Take a look at what do you think is happening. Look at all the clues. Pay attention. There's so much going on these days. I don't know that I could say offhand exactly what it is.
Well, that's a good point. Like almost looking at these one by one, because there could be a slightly different reason for the name change. Maybe something was related to an NPC, and now we've gone to a timeline with the original version, or whatever it could be. So yeah, looking at it one by one actually makes sense to tune into each individual change.
Yeah. So we did a good job on the question, best we can. But,
yeah, with that many questions, we appreciate you sending that in. Do try to keep the questions to a minimum. 9 questions in one's a bit much, but we do appreciate it sincerely. We appreciate that. I think we have time to pull one more from the mailbag. So let's dig around in here and see what we get. Here we go. Susan Foley 976 says, I think noise booms are underground domes being cleared out and tunnels being created. We're talking about these sky booms that people have been hearing all around the world. I wonder what they thought the benefits of nuking the moon was initially. Project A19 of 1959. So this is in reference to Carl Sagan's work on a project to initially nuke the moon.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? What would have been the benefits of doing this?
It was, according to the global narrative, it was basically to send a message to the world that the United States had this technology. If they could see like an explosion happen on the moon. So that's what I remember reading about it. I just want to go back just real quick to the smiley face, because I'm wondering how often does this happen? The last time it happened with Venus and Jupiter, making the smiley face was December of 2008. So it happens not every year, but somewhat coming. 2008 wasn't that long ago.
Do they have a picture of that? Because back in 2008, the moon was not doing this. It was like that. So.
That's the other thing too. So
so I'm really curious about that one.
You said about that.
Okay, so what was it a few years ago when we saw the smiley face? Was that Saturn and Jupiter or another 2 planets? Because we saw it, like, I want to say within the last 5 years, we saw a smiley face created by the Cheshire moon and 2 planets, but maybe it wasn't the same 2 planets. But yeah, I got a picture of it. I want to say it was Saturn and Jupiter.
No, that's even more interesting. By the way, I just put into the chat a link for Heather.
Okay, Venus and Jupiter. Yeah, that'd be great to see that on the screen. We'll come back to this question. Great question, Susan. And Susan, if you want to look up the boom sounds, check out the Y-Files. He did a video recently, just very, oh, wow. The Y-Files YouTube channel, because there's another reason for the booms, and it's too big a topic to get into.
Oh, this is interesting. The description here says in Australia, they saw the happy face, but in North, they saw the sad face from the orientation.
Oh, wow.
That's blowing my mind right there.
Wait, how do you say, where's the sad face? How is that possible?
Because the instead of a smile, you would see it on the top. So you just like kind of mirror that image of the moon, depending on what hemisphere you're in, according to this posting on Reddit.
Not sure about that.
From 2008.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I mean, if that's true, do they see like a sad mouth type thing, like in the southern hemisphere? I don't know.
I just think it would be upside down, like literally the whole thing upside down.
Right. Why would the stars?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Right.
So in any event, it does happen.
So this was Venus and Jupiter back in 2008. But see, to me, this is impossible because in 2008, the moon wasn't doing that.
Exactly. But maybe it was in this timeline.
Right.
In this timeline, we've always had the smiling moon. That's why you talk to a lot of people, and some people are like, of course the moon smiles. I've seen the moon smiling my whole life. And I'm like, I haven't. No. I spent a lot of time looking at that moon. What is the moon? Star Wars gave us the answer. Obi-Wan Kenobi goes, that's no moon. That's a space station. Maybe the moon is a spaceship.
Wait, what movie was that in? Because I don't
know. Original Star Wars.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's a Mandela effect for me. Wow. Okay, that is trippy.
I'll see if I could find that clip and pass it on to Heather.
Okay. Meanwhile, back to Susan's question. Excellent question. And just to get back to the booming sound, there could be a possibility that the reduced electromagnetic field around the Earth is contributing to some changes associated with the magnetic field change and the magnetic north and magnetic south being on the move, which are contributing to some, we don't know why, but this is the video to look for about plasma. It's like...
somebody watched the Y-Files last night.
It was freaky. Yeah, it's a freaky one.
The plasma apocalypse is what you're referencing.
That's thank you. That's the exact episode. Yes. And that show does a good job of calming things down at the end. It gets pretty weird, and then it says, well, this could be this, and don't worry too much about it. So,
yeah, I really like his work a lot. I think he does a great job.
It's great.
But it could be the plasmas and things like that. Okay, go ahead.
And roll the clip.
Yeah, make it full screen if you can and get that sound going.
We have no audio, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. This is where Han Solo says that's no moon. Right. Okay. Oh, yeah. I do remember this. But they're not looking at the Earth's moon. Okay.
Yeah, it's too bad there's no sound, but...
Yeah, it's such a cool... Yeah, I remember when he says that. That's no
It's
moon.
probably good that there's no sound.
Yeah, it's pretty... Yeah, that way we can...
No, Star Wars is good, though. Star Wars, like, you could use a lot of clips from Star Wars and you don't get penalized.
Oh, really?
Well, that's weird because they're also Disney.
That's true. So what was the moon? It was the Death Star, right?
Oh, right. Yep.
Yeah.
So it's not the Earth's moon. Okay. I thought we were looking at the Earth's moon. Like, whoa, I didn't remember that.
But
Okay.
it's in question for a long time. What is our moon? We really don't know. We theorize, we have ideas, but there's still no definitive proof, even to the scientific realm. They think it was formed from Earth, but we don't exactly have all the evidence to prove that.
No, and just the size and where it is and how it forms solar eclipses, perfectly mirroring the sun. It's a super cosmic coincidence that I don't think is a super cosmic coincidence.
Yeah, there's no such thing as coincidences, in my opinion. And that is all the time we have today for the mailbag, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate you guys sending in your thoughts and questions. You can either send them to team@imec.world, team@imec.world, or you can go to the bottom of this or any video and drop your questions there, and we would be glad to also include them. We do scour the videos before the shows and look for questions to add in. So either place would be great. Once again, it was just on screen, team@imec.world, or the bottom of any video.
Looks like we do have a question in the chat. I see RB, if the moon has always been that way, then why is it never depicted in old paintings? I guess been that way being... that's a good question. That is a good question. I like that question because I don't know the answer.
Right.
You have to look into that.
Excellent.
Was it here to be depicted in old paintings to begin with? There are also people that talk about the time before the moon. There's an ancient tribe that talks about the time before the moon. So,
well, this is about this, I think, the Cheshire moon.
Oh, got it. Love
the question. Love it. And we may start seeing it showing up in old artwork. Who knows? But right now, I've never seen it in old artwork either.
Give it about a year. It takes about that long for it to make its way into the past, right?
Well, now we just saw a photo from 2008, supposedly, showing it the Cheshire moon, and I do not remember that from 2008.
That's true.
Okay. How about you, Shane? You've been awfully quiet.
For me, the Cheshire thing isn't a thing for me. It's always always
been that.
Pointed at the sun for me. Yeah.
What about art? You've seen it in ancient art?
No, it is usually depicted at an angle or sideways.
Thank you.
It seems like, yeah.
Thank you. Cool. so we can all agree when that starts happening. That'll be weird. Okay, thank you.
All right, next slide, please.
Any other questions? I didn't check the chat thoroughly, but I saw that question.
I haven't seen any more. That's the first one that I've seen.
Okay.
I've been kind of going back and forth looking at the chat. I haven't really seen any else thrown in there.
If anyone did have a question, put write question in all caps or something.
Right. So mark your calendars, ladies and gentlemen. Mark your calendars. We have 2 dates for you coming up. Wednesday, May the 21st, 2025. That's right. Wednesday, May 21st, 2025. We'll be back here for another episode of the Mandela Effect Conference Open Tables. And then the next month, Wednesday, June 25th, 2025. June 25th, 2025. We will also be returning for yet another incredible episode. One of those may or may not have a special guest with us. We'll see how that goes. So do make sure you mark your calendars for the upcoming days for IMEC. Next slide, please. We would like to give a special thank you to our current and new Patreon sponsors. Like we said earlier in the show, ladies and gentlemen, you get a special Patreon-only Green Room episode that we do before every single show with topics that we can't necessarily always discuss on YouTube. It's usually a deeper dive into some incredible fringe ideas and topics, and it always relates back to the Mandela Effect. So if you're not already, make sure you go on over to Patreon and help us out over there. It also helps sponsor us, ladies and gentlemen. We are a 501c3. We are a non-for-profit, which means that all the money we intake goes towards the company and the community, and not a single penny of it goes to any of us individually. So every bit is appreciated, ladies and gentlemen. It is very, very much helpful to us to be able to continue to put on these events for you guys every year. Unfortunately, the world runs on money. I didn't make the rules. We got to live within this system, right? But if you want to help us out, the Patreon has different tiers. All tiers have access to the green room videos. I keep trying to make sure I don't say green screen. I'm really bad about saying green screen when it comes to these. But we really, really appreciate our members over there. And we really would hope that all of you guys go over there and also become sponsors if you're not already. Next slide, please. Of course, we have covered the questions and submissions. Next slide, please.
Well, we did get a question about 2 p.m. Yes, 2 p.m. for the next 2 meetings. So when we come to do open tables for the May and the June show, that is same bat time, same bat channel.
Same bat channel. And I believe that is all we have for today, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you mark your calendars. We hope to see you guys again next month. Any last words for our audience, guys, starting with Chris?
Hey, can't wait to see you next month. And I'll be putting out more content coming up in the months ahead. So if you look forward to that, I think I'll give you some really cool surprises.
There you go. Well, real quick, ladies and gentlemen, I did not give my update. I was able to weasel out of that. I have moved. I am no longer where I used to live. We've got a brand new studio now. We're, as you see, much bigger and much different than it was. We're so very, very excited to pick up where we left off, continue doing the Jerry Hicks show again, and find a way to reincorporate the Dark Wolf's Den show eventually. We're not done with that. It's just on a temporary hiatus. Too much political stuff going on. I'm waiting on the political to mix with the paranormal again so we can bring them back out both onto the scene. That's been my month. I've been moving, getting things set up, getting ready for this show, and trying to get reestablished in a new town. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. I am now in Louisville. Go ahead, Cynthia.
You got a new nickname we see? You're now the Dire Wolf.
The Dire Wolf, yes. I thought that was a great suggestion, Chris. So for the rest of today's show, I have been the Dire Wolf, Jerry Dire Wolf Hicks.
I like it.
We'll debate whether or not we're going to keep that. We very well may. But Cynthia, do you have any last words for our amazing audience?
Just keep asking questions you want to live the answer to, because our superpowers are coming in and we are creating reality. I mean, that's becoming a proven fact. So Love you guys so much.
How good can it get? Shane Robinson of Unbiased and on the Fence. Final thoughts.
Just sending love to everybody out there and enjoy life.
On behalf of Christopher Onatra, you know him as the Quantum Businessman, Cynthia Sue Larson of Reality Shifter, Shane Robinson of Unbiased and on the Fence. I am Jerry Direwolf Hicks. And this has been another Open Tables from the International Mandela Effect Conference. Remember, until next we meet, ladies and gentlemen, together we go. Together we grow.
Woo!
Love you guys. Bye, everybody.
Love you so much. Take care.